All right, what is going on, everybody? Today I'm going to be telling you why you suck at guitar. Now, there's a lot of reasons why you might suck at guitar. Maybe you feel like you're hitting a plateau in your playing. Maybe you feel like you never learned the instrument in the first place. Maybe you're self-taught. You don't know where to go. You don't know what path to go down. Well, I've probably been there at some point in my life as well. So I'm here to tell you how to get out of that point in your life. Now, first of all, I don't want to knock anyone by saying you suck, because obviously that sounds kind of pretentious. But to be honest, I think you know if you're watching this video and you clicked the title that you're probably thinking that in your own mind and you're like, I need to get out of this somehow. So let me help you not suck. I also want to make clear that a lot of the things I'm going over in this video is something that I struggled with. I have played through probably every single type of guitar, every single type of amp in existence before finally landing on stuff that I actually liked. And I'm here to tell you that unlike where everybody tries to say that it's cliche to say tone is in the fingers, it is in the fingers, okay? We're going to do this in a 5-tier system, okay? I'm basically going to walk you through the 5 tiers, and if you make it through all 5 tiers, well, congratulations, you don't suck. You're on your way to becoming a very great musician and player. If you find yourself stopping throughout the 5 tiers, well, that's where you need to stay put for a second and master that before moving into the next tier. And the way I'm going to kind of do this is how I would, do it if you were actually one of my students, because this would be kind of a pop quiz that I usually give to students of mine when they come to study with me. And speaking of which, if you want to study with me, email me directly and state your case. My email is in the link in the description below. If it's a good fit, I'd love to work with you. I have a few slots open at the time of this video. So, level 1.
Round 1. Fight.
You don't know anything about this instrument. You don't know the notes. If you're watching this right now and you can't tell me what this note is, that's a problem. That is an A, okay? If you're watching and you can't tell me what this note is, that's a problem. That's an F. Yes, I'm tuned to E flat. I'm going to treat everything as if it's in standard, though. I would actually start there, right? If you started learning piano, if you started learning the violin, if you started learning any instrument that isn't this one, your teacher would teach you all the notes day 1. Not literally all of them, but that's the foundation. You know what I mean? So that would be number 1. So if you don't know all your notes, or at least how to find all the notes, I have a little exercise below in the description. If you sign up for my free monthly newsletter, I will give you access to all of my tabs for free. It's totally free, no strings attached. And you'll have that exercise of all the C notes on the guitar, which is the first thing I would have you do, which is like this. And that's a pattern, right? So your first understanding needs to come from this being an instrument of patterns, because you can just move the pattern up. Now you got all the Ds. Once you build upon this layer, you would want to inevitably know the cage system, okay? This is 5 positions. Why am I holding a 4? 5 positions of the guitar, which is literally just that word spelled in open chord form. You got C, A, G, E, and D. Simply put, without going too far into it, the purpose of this is to be able to play the shapes of those chords with all the chords on the guitar. For example, C, but then the A shape of C, and the G shape of C, and the E shape of C, and the D shape of C. And if you want to make it minor, just flat the 3rd on all the chords. In knowing the cage shapes, you would also learn all 5 positions of your scales and arpeggios. Example, if you have C in the A shape, there's a scale that goes with that. Right? And if I move that to the A shape of D, now I have a D major scale, simply put. So it's just an instrument of patterns. And that is the foundation for knowing your instrument right there. If you haven't gotten past that is level 1.
Round 2. Fight!
So level 2 is basically you don't understand music. So now you kind of have an understanding of the guitar and how it's laid out, but you don't really understand how it fits in the context of making music, playing with other musicians, fitting it in to where other instruments lie. Which brings you to the Nashville number system. This is level 2. I don't even like calling it Nashville number system because frankly, these numbers come from classical music and jazz, and they should be treated as such because they are meant to be in Roman numeral form for a reason. But basically, the sheer foundation of that comes from the C harmonized scale. You can do it in any key, but in this video, we're going to do everything in C major because there's no flats and no sharps. If you didn't know that, well, don't go past level 2. So here's C major 7, right? We're going to play it in 7th chords. This is the C major harmonized scale. It sounds like this. And then you think you're done, but you always have to play a scale backwards. So by the time you get to this point, you should already have the understanding that a major scale is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Those are the steps, right? If I go the note, then whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, okay? That's where I'm getting these chords from, and I do it on one string up the neck so I can see the guitar linearly like a piano. Then comes the chords of the harmonized scale from that, which is C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G dominant 7, A minor 7, B minor 7 flat 5, and back to the tonic 1 chord, which inevitably will take you into the modes. But put that on the shelf for now, as we really just want to concentrate on the numbers of the chords. So when you practice this, you want to just think 1 major, 2 minor, 3 minor, 4 major, 5 dominant, which is also major, 6 minor, 7, which is minor 7 flat 5. We also call that a half diminished chord. Don't get too much into the theory on this video on that one, but just know you do not play a fully diminished chord when you're playing 7th chords. After you know this, now you should be a lot more familiar when someone says, hey man, play a 6-2-5-1 progression. Inevitably, you should learn all these chords also not on just one string, right? If someone said play 6-2-5-1 in C, now you know it's A minor, D minor, G dominant, and C major. And also to cap this understanding of chords, you need to understand what a triad is, which you would have also learned in level 2, which is 1-3-5 of the scale. And if it's minor, it's 1 flat 3-5, right? When we add the 7th, that's what gives us a 7th chord. And when you practice this, you want to inevitably practice everything. You want to inevitably practice all the chords, but also in different spots. So don't just play everything on the same string. You want to also learn them on all the strings, right? So if I play a 6-2-5-1 progression, now you'll have that understanding of what that actually means. You'll be like, oh, okay, I know 6-2-5-1. I'm in the key of C. And then you want to get your right hand going and just be able to keep simple rhythm, right? If you can't just keep simple rhythm, you got some homework. Even if it's nothing fancy and just quarter notes like this, downstrokes, this is what you need to be practicing. Because if you can't play in time with yourself, there's definitely no way you're going to be able to play in time with a band. So this brings me to
Round 3. Fight!
So level 3 is where you want to get active in the melody department. Now that you know your scales, now that you know your chords, you want to be able to create something we call a motif. Now, a motif, not to get too into the weeds on this, but is basically a simple melody phrase with slight embellishments that lasts for maybe a group of 4, a group of 8. It can be an even grouping. It just needs to be repeatable and even singable and memorable, right? This is the theme of what you're going to play. So a lot of people, when they get into guitar solos, think, I just got to play everything. I got to fill everything up with notes, and then you get something that just sounds like a scale. And that's how people get stuck in boxes of the pentatonic scale. They're like, dude, everything I play doesn't sound like a solo. Yeah, because you're not talking. You're not making the guitar sing, okay? You have nothing to say. You need to have something to say, right? So a simple motif might be something like this. If you're using A minor pentatonic, we'll keep it in the key of C technically. So let's just say I'm doing a 12-bar blues in A minor. I might want to go something like this. Okay, that's super, super, super basic. But seriously, if you can't play that in time, you got homework to do. Okay, so this is singable, repeatable melody. This is the main part. You repeat that a couple times, maybe we play it. Okay, whatever it is, you need to be able to play the blues. If you can't play a simple blues, you have a huge gap in your playing as a guitar player. I don't even care if you can shred your ass off, like if you can just play super fast stuff. If you literally cannot play the blues in time and just come up with motifs and simple melodies, why are you playing electric guitar? Okay, rant over. Now let's get real, going into
Round 4. Fight!
All right, so level 4 is usually what actually 90% of my students come to me for, which is the technique. They say, Serge, I need to learn alternate picking. I need to learn sweep picking. I need to learn economy picking. I need to learn hybrid picking. Whatever type of picking it is, I use probably every type of picking that exists, and I don't really think about it most of the time because I learned level 1 through 3. Well, that means that my technique is purely a byproduct of me just making music, having something to say, right? This is what I talk about in all my videos when I say shredding is BS. If you learn to shred and you don't know level 1 through 3, you're not a musician. I'm sorry. I know that, actually, I'm not even sorry about that. I know that that's going to offend quite a lot of people, but you literally are not shit if you don't have level 1 through 3. That's literally just scratching the surface, okay? I've seen guys, I go to Guitar Center sometimes, reluctantly, and I see some dude just shredding the gnar, bro. They're shredding so hard, dude. They think they're so good. But here's the thing, right? If you are considering yourself a shredder and you haven't gone through levels 1 through 3, you are not shit. You are not a musician. You are probably hardly a decent guitar player because you're probably a one-trick pony that can only do one thing. And you need to go through the levels. You need to go through the journey before you decide to jump the gun and say, I want to become a shredder. Because a lot of people think shredding, I got so much distortion, dude. No, I don't play with a lot of distortion. Why would I do that when I lose my articulation from doing that, right? If you listen to this amp right now, I'm going to learn how to economy pick. I'm going to learn how to alternate pick those scales. I'm going to learn about string groupings, right? In going to a music school, right? If you go to a place like Berkeley or MI, you might come out a fantastic theory snob. You might know every triad on the guitar. You might know everything you need to know in terms of the fretboard, but you still can't play a group of 4 or a group of 3. That's a problem. I have some exercises below. Again, in the free monthly newsletter, if you want some tabs on some nice ways to practice groups of 3 and groups of 4. But you really want to start out with purposefully thinking about your pick strokes, right? You want to go with alternate picking. Generally start with an even group of strings. or even group of notes rather, like 4 notes. And if you're economy picking, start with an odd grouping, 3 notes, and then start working on blending those together so you can see how they actually work in real time. Because frankly, most shredders are not actually thinking about all that stuff when they're performing. Here, I didn't really think about how many notes I played or how I'm going to pick it. It just starts to become a feel. I, as a player, really tend to keep the down pick slant, which is very much like a Django Reinhardt type of picking. And you might find yourself to like that. This is kind of the experimental phase, right? I like to hybrid pick all the chords. Start hybrid picking by simply just hybrid picking your harmonized scale, right? Understanding how to get good tone out of that. You don't want to be plucking the strings, right? You don't want to be harsh. You want to be real gentle. If you can shred with a nice clean tone, well, you're really going on the right track if you can. If you can shred with a really good clean tone, then you can shred with a really good dirty tone. And what you want to look for with your fast picking, right? When you start, I would start always with a tremolo pick and work on the ergonomics of your wrist moving forward and backwards. The way that I place my wrist on the guitar is in this position so that my wrist is open and I can tremolo pick really fast. I can get accents in the notes if I want to. You want to work on that, controlling the pick, right? If you got gravity going, then when you apply notes to it, you want to be able to play the notes at the same volume that you did the tremolo pick, right? The notes should not be harsh. You should be working on relaxing and holding the pick so loose you almost drop it. You should feel the friction in between the pick and the fingers like this vibration, and you should only hold the pick with just enough to hit the string. Once you work on that, then I would recommend working on some sweep picking, and how I would do that is just simply practice the triads. Right, let's say I take A minor and these ones, right? You should have learned these from levels 1, 2, and 3. If I take A minor, now I can sweep pick them, right? See, it's just a simple chord. And you'll start learning how to arrange this instrument to actually make it make sense for you. Learn how to do the bigger sweeps. Once you start experimenting with level 4, now you are ready to start creating your own motifs with the cool technique, with the soul and the feel attached to it, because of course that's what music is at the end of the day. Now you are able to put it all together and experiment with that.
Final round. Fight!
How I would recommend going about improvisation, just pick a chord progression. You know, start very simple. If you pick 1, 4, 5, major, then you want to be able to really go for it. If this helped you today, please leave a like, comment, share, let me know what you think. And I appreciate all of you for watching. If you want to study with me one-on-one and get some more of this knowledge and information and become a fantastic musician, email me directly. My email is in the link in the description below. State your case. If it's a good fit, I'd love to work with you. Don't forget to sign up for my free monthly newsletter, and I will see you all on the next one.